Anyway, much as I hate to admit it, you were right.
Oh.
Possible's like your hairline. She's fading.
Well, if you think she's bad now, wait till this clip of her being terrified out of her wits gets accidentally leaked online.
Were those air quotes? What did I say about those?
Imagine the cruel memes.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host Comic Knight Zero, and today I'm going to be talking about a movie I originally didn't want to talk about, but you know, my New Year's resolution was to make at least one video a month, so with my other projects being delayed and the end of the month quickly approaching, I figured I'd go ahead and make a video about this since I did watch the premiere for this out of curiosity. And boy, let me tell you, it's not great, but it still could have been worse. If anything, I would describe this movie as being very okay for what it was. But I mean, you could tell that the writers at least tried to bring some of that excitement and charm you could find in the cartoon series. Cause I'll be honest dude, I got goosebumps as soon as I heard that theme song start playing since it more or less still sounded the same. That sense of nostalgia was hitting me hard, but then I was immediately put off by it due to the awkwardness of them trying to recreate scenes from the original opening. But hey, B minus for effort. And like, just in general, this movie definitely suffers from the fact that some scenes and effects do not translate well into live action. Like most of the grappling hook stuff, the fight scenes, the jetpack effects, you name it. But I gotta say, compared to the rest of the effects, I do think they did a pretty solid job with Rufus. Like, after seeing the effects used in the earlier parts of the movie, I was afraid he was gonna look terrible. But I want to say I was actually wrong in that regard. And you know, I'm sure a lot of people would say that Rufus looks horrible, and yeah, you have the right to say that, but like, dude, it's a naked mole rat. You can only do so much to make it look good. So I'd say kudos to the animation team, but now that I think about it, the other effects probably looked so terrible because they spent so much time and effort on Rufus, but that's just my theory on it. For the most part, the writing left a lot to be desired. Sure, they made a few changes to the canonicity of the cartoon, like the origin of Rufus, which I wasn't really bothered by, but the problem I had was that a lot of the jokes were either a hit or a miss. It lacked a major consistency in humor. Which is unfortunate since the Kim Possible series is seen as being an action comedy, which it was known for doing well in both genres. There's also times where Kim and Ron feel the need to remind people that they helped save the world. Now the writers may not have intended this, but it's little things like that that give off this "I'm a hero, so that makes me more special than you" sort of complex, which definitely feels out of character for these two. Because yes, in the cartoon, Kim and Ron do talk about their previous missions sometimes, but it's really because of other characters bringing it up out of curiosity, or it comes up in casual conversation.
I mean, yeah, totally.
Hey, you're Kim Possible. You were on the news last week. Save some ambassador or something?
Yeah,
That was cool.
yeah. Thanks. Bye!
So seeing Kim and Ron doing this certainly felt a bit off to me. Now in general, I don't really have too much to say on the character portrayals. No one really felt too odd or out of place for me. You know, you still have Bonnie trying to hate on Kim with everything she does, you got your guy in the chair sits in his lab all day Wade, you got Shigo and Draken, and you still get those moments where Kim can call in a favor with some random celebrity she helped out once upon a time, who, fun fact, was played by the original voice of Kim Possible. The more you know. So it was certainly nice to see that they kept these kind of elements in the movies, but if I'm being honest, Shigo and Draken were clearly the best parts of the movie. However, the movie does introduce a new character in which they actually spent a lot of time focusing on to sort of draw parallels back to Kim, which I thought was an interesting choice. But there's two things I'd like to address. First, let's talk about Ron, because I'm not gonna lie, he felt two-dimensional, and the dude's kind of a spaz. But I guess when you think about it, Ron is supposed to be a spaz anyway, so technically they got that part of his character right, but with an extra dimension of spazziness. So there's certainly places where he's supposed to come off as the comic relief, but at the same time, ends up being a tad bit annoying. But I never felt like he necessarily ruins the movie for me. Now secondly, I have to give the movie props for showing an interesting side of Kim because in this movie, she ends up meeting someone who's actually quote unquote better than her at the things she does, and when she feels this gap between her and this other person's abilities, rather than being there to support this person, it actually makes Kim a little self-conscious and ultimately lets it get to her head. I think most would agree that in the cartoon, Kim Possible felt like this unstoppable hero who could beat any odds. No one ever questioned how skilled she was because, you know, that's just her. She was highly skilled at a lot of things. It wasn't something she had to go out of her way to prove. Now, that's not to say she doesn't have her moments of doubt or insecurity. She still goes through those same experiences that a lot of teenagers do, like crushes, embarrassment, and that of the like. And so seeing this movie take this sort of angle with Kim was pretty interesting to see. But I'd say the downside to this is that it could make her sound a bit whiny, like, "Oh no, someone knows how to use a bow staff better than I can, but I'm supposed to be the best." But overall, it definitely shows Kim in this sort of moment of weakness and grants her this learning opportunity that you can't be the best at everything, and you should always be there to support your friends, as opposed to supporting your own ego. And I think that really sends a positive message. So in short, the movie was, it was alright. It wasn't super terrible, but it's definitely not a movie I'd claim as something you need to see. Though I'm fairly certain that if you're a big Kim Possible fan, you will not enjoy this movie. Like, that I'm pretty sure of. It has a higher chance of being better received by those who are casual watchers of the show or those who've never seen the original series, but that really isn't saying much, honestly. Again, it suffers a lot from the use of special effects in most of the writing, but it takes an interesting route with Kim's character and conveys a great positive message. I certainly felt that there was some effort in trying to incorporate some similarities to the cartoon, and I'm glad to say that it didn't feel like some cheap cash grab at a series that did really well in the past. But with that being said, Disney, I am begging you, do not reboot the cartoon. Do not bring this back as a live-action series. Do not get any ideas on making a sequel. Do we have a deal? Oh dear God.